So let me check in. Let me check in with my peeps. It's easy to fall off the wagon, isn't it?
You're really going to ask me that. That's my whole life.
Because one of the things I want you to get in your mind is that you have the capacity and the drive to take an idea and see it through to its logical conclusion. That is actually my definition of motivation. See, people ask me, what's the difference between inspiration and motivation? And my definition is inspiration is where an idea has a hold of you, and it tries its best to get you to take action on it. But it's like cotton candy. Feels good, tastes good, then it's gone. Motivation is where you have a hold of that idea, like a pit bull. And you will see that idea through to its conclusion. You follow me here? And the reason I share that with you is because a lot of people lack that piece. You follow me here? For a lot of reasons. We get distracted, life happens, and there's too many ideas, which is a problem we face a lot. There's so much opportunity out there. I hired a new guy, former director of operations for Ole Miss. So he's been in SEC, and I hired him for one reason. I said, you got one job. Get to all the opportunity we ain't getting to right now. That's it. So yesterday on his first day, there were 6 additional opportunities that we got to that we couldn't get to before, just by having him. Wow. Whether it be Michael Bay's coming up to me going, hey, we need to pursue this, we need to meet, but we talked about meeting for 3 months and we hadn't met. People want me to speak at things that I couldn't speak. You see what I'm saying? I mean, so he's just sitting there capturing this opportunity, right? Big Kahuna says, well, we need to do this. And I may say, I want to do it, Big Kahuna, but I can't. You see what I'm saying? I can't get to it right now. Well, he's coming in there and closing that gap and going, how do we do it? When do we do it? Let's get it on the schedule. And so a lot of problem is you got so much going on, you can't even focus on taking this concept, bringing it to market. Because all of this is good, stuff that you're learning in this program about how to package and sell content, but you got to package and sell it. It's not just good to live in your brain. You follow me here? I mean, you know, even with a company, if you're trying to move an initiative in a company, I mean, I go into $5 billion companies and try to move an initiative, man. I get it. It's a war zone out there, man. You got resistance. You got allies. You follow me? You got people pushing their own agendas. I get it. I may have the best idea in the world that can make them $10 billion, but if I can't fight through all that bureaucracy and get it done, man, it don't matter. Everybody's pushing their own agenda. You see what I'm saying? So part of what I want to really encourage you here is I want to come back to something we talked about a lot in this class is that you've got a song to sing and you got people to sing it too, and you got to get clear, right? You can't sell a book until you write the book. You can't give a speech until you go out there and give your first one. You follow me here? We had a young kid in our coaching class, a new monster producer the other day, said, man, I just put my first video out. I know it's not very good. And I said, look, I'm giving you credit for pressing record, brother. You pressed record and at least did it. That's something 80% of people, 90% will never do, right? So don't beat yourself up too bad. You're in the ball game. You're going, you're moving, okay? So I want to talk about today, that's really what I want to talk about today, is how do we take this and sell it? Because this is a big challenge for a lot of people, right? I got it up here, how do we sell it? How do we sell it? And I can't tell you, and you're working within a company, right? I can't tell you how many executives I see get up in front of their people and cannot communicate effectively. I mean, I saw it this week. I saw a operations person get up in front of the whole operation team, 400 people, and it was one of the worst presentations I have ever seen in my life. You follow me? Jack, was it bad? Yeah. I mean, I feel sorry for the guy. I texted him. I'm sitting there going, we ought to have a whole division that does nothing but coach executives on how to talk. You with me? Because if you can't talk in a way that inspires movement and action and force, You see what I'm saying? You're wasting these opportunities. So he had a captive audience and then he blew it because he didn't have anything to say. And you got to. This is why in our last session we talked about communicating with force, power voice, Les Brown. See what I'm saying? I've seen Les Brown 500 times, but until I saw him in person, and I heard that power voice, all he had to say was get your energy up. He didn't have to. He was not talk with his hands. You see what I'm saying? He's very stagnant with his body because he's 70-something years old. But that power voice, man, when he brought that power voice on, people would get up, right? And I see people that either don't have enough conviction or they just can't communicate strong enough. Does that make sense? So what if it was me? How do I get better at that? What would you tell me to do if I came to you? I come to you and I say, man, I got a message that'll blow your freaking mind, right? Whatever it is. But I just cannot communicate it in a way that inspires movement. What would you tell me to do? Okay, how much should I practice? Mm-hmm.
Like I say, get in front of a video, take a video recording of yourself.
Yep.
And sit down, record it, and then take note of what you're doing. Are you putting energy into it? When you look back at that recording, is it inspiring you to move?
Right.
And if it isn't inspiring
That's right.
you to move, it isn't going to inspire anybody else.
I go back and listen to every one of my podcasts. And I go back and watch every one of my Super Coach shows. And you know why? To see how I can get better. And if I'm sitting there listening to it, I go, man, that was good. That reminded me I need to be doing something. I needed to hear that. Okay? And I know when I'm flat and when I'm not, but I go back and quality control those. And I'll tell Jack, we didn't segue good here, got flat here, we need better music. I mean, I watch it to see how can we make it better. Because I say, not that we have a couple thousand people listening to it. What if we had 5 million people listening to it? Okay. What were you going to say?
I think whenever you're speaking to a group, you need to be able to connect to it.
Yes.
Or even one-on-one. So figure out what that is. Whatever, especially if you're an executive, something that makes me feel comfortable with any part executive, somebody that I can connect to, somebody I feel comfortable with. So maybe an introduction of yourself, something personal about yourself, or like an icebreaker of some sort, something like that. So how can you connect with people, and how are you going to draw them in so then you can get the message across of what you're trying to share with them?
What happens if you go into a group, and this happens a lot, and it's not working?
Admit it out loud.
Okay.
Say, guys, it's not working.
Hey,
Not doing the best job here.
something's not working here.
Let's fix it.
Am I connecting with you? I just spoke at Leadership Rutherford, and Leadership Rutherford is a very tough group for me to speak to. What does Jesus say in the Bible? Prophet is without honor where? In his hometown. Sometimes I can feel the judgment from people. Oh, he's just an old basketball coach. You know what I'm saying? Life coach. I can feel it when I walk in the room like, come on, man, this is Coach Burt. I have to work so hard to win those people over. Now, you put me in the car and drive me 20 minutes to Cool Springs and let me give the same talk and see how it looks like. Right? Like I've taken my buddies with me some when I speak, and me get done speaking, and there'll be a line 300 deep for me to sign books. And they're like, whoa. I said, anytime I leave Murfreesboro, this is what happens. It don't happen in Murfreesboro because of all the judgment, all the familiarity. Does that make sense? I go anywhere else. That's the way it is everywhere. I mean, people sign up, and I'm like, So we've got this misjudgment. Well, the number one trainer in the world couldn't be in Murfreesboro. He has to be in New York City or Chicago or LA. He couldn't actually be Michael Bays and be in Murfreesboro. We make those assessments. They're judgments, right? Yeah, so that's how people do. And you have to overcome that. So today, Takesha was asking me, because she saw how hard I had to work, right? And she says, what do you do when they just ain't buying? Because they just kind of sit there like this. Now, why I did that? Well, they've been doing presentations all morning where they had to listen to other people present about community projects. It was almost lunch. They were hungry. They've been through 12 months of this program. They're probably ready to be over it, done. You know what I'm saying? So here's what I say. I energy up, man. I push harder. And I make up my mind. I'm going to win them over.
Good, that's proud.
Right? And I even ask them, are we connecting with each other? Because I feel like we're not connecting. But also I want you to understand sometimes body language is wrong. We've been taught that 93% of communication is nonverbal. So the most skeptical person in that room, I could feel skepticism coming from her. And so when I was done, I went over there and I said, why were you so skeptical of me? She said, because I'm from New Jersey. And then she said, I must not have been too skeptical because I bought 6 of your books.
There you go.
So you can't always, I spoke at a Church of Christ school once. They didn't laugh at anything. They didn't joke at anything. And I thought I was awful. So man, this was one of the worst presentations I've ever done. And they stood in line for 30 or 40 minutes to buy my books. And I asked them, I said, man, I did not think I connected with you at all. And they said, hey, we're Church of Christ.
That's just his flat statement.
I was raised Church of Christ. Here's what they said. We were not taught. We don't show a lot of emotion at our meetings.
Well, then how much of it is you perceiving the crowd?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, versus
Because you know if your energy's up or down. You're right, and you're exactly right. So I have learned not to always judge based on the crowd, because some people sit and really observe and they take notes in their mind, and I don't think this person is right. Like 2 of the people I thought were totally disconnected from me today, I talked to them afterward, and this is something I always do now. I didn't used to do it. Is I go around and sit at every table and talk to them. Thank you for being coachable. I appreciate it. 2 of them that I thought were the most difficult to connect with, both were attorneys. And one of them I thought hated it, and at the end he said, man, this was really good. I loved every second of it. And I was like, man, I never knew it. Sure. Typically people give you this or that, right? So that's important, okay? All right, so let's talk about where the roadblock is between packaging and selling your ideas, because that's really what we're going to focus on today. All right, right now we're selling $200,000 and more worth of our coaching a month. So we're on track to do $2.4 million of revenue with what you see me do here. And we're doing it through big coaching contracts. We're doing it through Monster Producer, which is a coaching program that we're selling 25 to 35 people a month on. We're doing it through speaking engagements. We're doing it through, you understand what I'm saying? That's how we're generating that money. And I showed you early in the program how you bring it in multiple ways: speaking, coaching, training, leading, podcasts, videos. We haven't even gotten close to on licensing, right? We're building a new greatness factory, which is going to has 9 ways we generate revenue at the new greatness factory. So tell me where the hang up is for you on packaging and selling your ideas. Let's just call it for money. And for you, tell me where your hang up is in communicating better. Because when you're in a bureaucracy, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you're in a company where there's other decision makers, you have got to sell your way up the food chain. You got to sell your ideas up the food chain. Right? So just give me some feedback on where you're struggling with that, okay? Whoever wants to go first.
I'm struggling with the time.
Okay?
Getting the time to write it all and to try it all.
Yep.
I mean, getting the time to go somewhere and speak. I kind of feel at this point my business isn't quite to the point where I can do all this. It's something I've been struggling with.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. You went down the path of the blue collar coach, right? Which I like. It's catchy. It's got a good hook. There's a market for it.
Right.
But you're saying your business is not giving you any time to work on that.
It's your fault.
Yeah. You ever heard him tell a story about how he had to quit on me and he still hit his goals? That's one of the strongest testimonies I ever got. Tried to quit on me half year and still exceeded his goals that year. You know it works when that happens, right?
I think that's the fear of a lot of people that end up in an entrepreneurial space that want to grow to the next piece is, you know what works, you've done it, you know the grind, this is, if I do this, I get this. And then the ability to shut that off to a degree, to trust in this new thing that's going to give you something exponentially
That's right.
better. It's that leap of faith.
That's right.
Is what it is. And then once you figure out that it can be worth that, then you got to figure the way to stop doing what you've always done.
That's right.
And it's hard to do.
That's right. Because there's security in what you've always done. And there's money in what you've always done, right? But here's the deal. At some point it's called side launching. At some point you're bringing a revenue in from here, but you're side launching your other idea. Does that make sense? And it starts to bring, there's a demonstrated need. So you see a demonstrated need that people will pay money for, right? I didn't leave coaching at Riverdale when I first got a few speaking engagements. I left coaching at Riverdale when I signed a $144,000 contract. You with me? That was voided 3 months after I retired. Company hit a cash crunch, canceled my contract. I went from having $12,000 coming in a month to zero. 3 months after I left my job. See, a lot of people don't know that story. Now I got no customers, I got no money, and I just retired from my job where I had insurance and benefits and a salary, guaranteed money. And I was making about $60,000 a year. So a lot of people don't hear that story, right? My first year I lost, I'm telling you this to give you some confidence here, is my first year I drove $75,000 of revenue and I lost $35,000. I showed a minus 35. Well, that money came out of my savings. You see what I'm saying? I didn't make any money my first year of coaching and speaking. So you say, what changed? I signed a $75,000 contract with a bank that gave me guaranteed income. Okay? The interesting thing about the deal is I negotiated the deal that they I don't know if I can say this on camera or not. Let's just say I got a lot of benefit from that contract. The way they structured the deal gave me a lot of security. So now I went from zero. Now I got a $75,000 contract with a bonus structure of $150 if I hit my goals. Okay. So now I got some peace of mind because now I know I'm gonna eat. But part of my deal was I could go get other clients. I wasn't exclusive with them. I was exclusive with them as a bank, but I could go get anybody else I wanted. And that helped me because if you don't have that, you're always going to be scared, right?
Well, that's what stops people from
That's right.
the jump.
So I just want you thinking about this. If you went out and landed one big company that signed you on as their coach, and they said, we'll pay you $10,000 a month, they'd give you a little bit more confidence too, right? You just got to have a demonstrated capacity here. But here's the deal. I'll tell you just straight up, tell everybody in this room, we can have this conversation today or we can have it 10 years from now. What's going to change? Until you start taking more action, nothing's going to change. So at some point, you got to devote some of your time. Like right now, I'm trying to decide how to scale this company because I coached for 7 straight hours yesterday, 3 different companies, and I told my team I can't do this every day. I don't want to do it every day. So they're wanting to sell more. They're in there selling more contracts for me to speak, and I'm like, you don't want me to walk in one day and say, I don't want to do this, right? So we're shifting and trying to sell our online academy. So we're re-upgrading it, renaming it, trying to do affiliate deals because now I'm at the point where I don't want to work as hard as I am for the money I'm making.
Sure.
Everybody with me? It's called easy, lucrative, and fun, ELF money. I'm looking for easier money, more lucrative money. So right now, and I'm just telling you this to give you some hope, I'm working on a deal with a company that would put 15,000 mortgage originators on our online academy at a one-time fee of $49 per person for a year. So they get it at a very cheap price, but there's huge numbers. That's a $750,000 contract. And guess what? I don't ever have to talk to them. Not one time. It's all done online. You with me? And the reason I can sell it that big is because for a mortgage company, it's really only about $15,000 for the whole year. So it's not a huge expense to them. So for $49 a person for the whole year, we can have all this coaching? Well, if I can sell it to 15,000 people, yes, you can. So I partner with a company that sells to those people, and I said include my technology with yours as an add-on product and add 15 more thousand to the pay bill, right? And now you got 2 products for one. Those are the kind of deals I'm trying to get involved in now. And they're out there. There's a bunch of them out there. Everybody with me? But what's the bigger point here? Unless I had an online academy to sell, which is where we're getting stuck here. Because I can't sell that academy if I don't have that academy. I can't sell the book if I don't write the book. I can't formalize blue-collar coaching until I have a curriculum that says when you hire me as a blue-collar coach, is what you get. See? All right, so Michael, what's your missing structure to taking it and selling it?
Well, I've actually got the side launch. That's already happened. But I think the biggest mistake that I probably made is looking at it in terms of an artist. That's what I like to do. Major projects, you want this amazing thing.
Yep.
And you want it to be wonderful.
Yep.
But the lean startup is the best way to do it.
Yep.
Find the simplest way to make $1.
Yep.
Put that as a goal. If you make $1,
Yep.
you're doing fantastic. And then you can find a way to make $2, then 4 or 5 or 10 or whatever. But it's taking the scope and just bringing it down. You don't need a book, write a paragraph.
That's right.
And if you get that up and you get some feedback, people will tell you what you need to write or what needs to be put out there. And it could be as simple as a tweet.
Yep.
And it gets done.
Yep.
And then you're letting the crowd actually point you in this direction with a question or a statement or somebody else that you need to read this material. That's the inspiration comes from. Then now you're looking at it and saying, okay, well, if I've got a paragraph's worth, I can turn that paragraph into a whole chapter on this one thing.
Yep.
So you build it from the ground up and don't look at it as this big thing to get done. So
That's right.
all paintings are built in layers.
Yeah. And so, to this point, a lot of people come to me and want to talk about scaling, but they're too early. Like you want to design to scale, I get that. But until you at capacity, right? You need to really scale when you've at capacity. You follow me here? Like we had a client that's no longer a client of ours, and he kept talking about scale, and we're not scaling. I'm like, man, you don't have 5 clients. We don't need to talk about you scaling until you go out. You first need to go out and get some money. Okay? So in our minds, you hear that word, a lot of people don't know what it means. They throw it around like, I got to scale this. Right? Go study the story of Uber. I was watching videos last night on Uber, and the guy started it just in San Francisco. And the original idea was 20 nice. The original idea was, how does a common person ride around like a baller in a black sedan? He was just a young guy who said, how does just a regular old common person feel like a baller in San Francisco? So they bought 20 black cars, and the cool thing was you could put it on your phone and it'd come to you within a few minutes, and you could ride around San Francisco like you were somebody. You didn't have to be a celebrity. That was the way Uber started. You follow me?
I'd say every one of us here, the reason we're in here is because we're at capacity with something.
Yes.
And the idea is to identify what that something is you're at capacity with. And it's not the amount of clients that you have. You have the clients because of the thing you do.
That's right.
Okay, and so whatever that is, that's the thing that you can eventually scale.
There you go.
There you go. So
And think about this. At some point, you want to go from baking the cake to selling the recipe. See the difference? You've baked a heck of a cake. And you know it's good because a lot of people are buying it. Right? Now, you want to take the ingredients you did and come over and sell it to other people and not have the heavy labor of baking the cake. If you haven't watched the movie yet, The Founder, we talked about that last time, I think you need to, about Ray Kroc, the scaling of McDonald's, right? It makes you think. How do we take he took a process. What he really had is a little symphony of efficiency about how they did things, and then he just took it all over the world. But notice it didn't work in the beginning because he didn't have the right franchisee owners. He had to go get the right manager for the McDonald's to work.
it all started with the easiest way to make $1
That's right.
hamburger.
That's right. And they noticed that 87% of their customers ordered the same thing. Hamburgers, fries, soda drink. So instead of trying to sell chicken sandwiches and all that, just sell one thing. I could see the day that all I do is Monster Producer. And that's it. You follow me?
Crowd tells you what works.
We don't do all this other stuff. We do one thing. This is how we make money. That's what I enjoy doing the most. You follow me here? Yes.
This is what John was telling me this afternoon. He said, that's the crazy thing about Coach Burt. He stays focused so intensely on the same thing day after day,
Yep.
year after year.
Yep.
How he does that, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's been because for a long time I wasn't. And when I first started this business, and this I think a mistake a lot of you guys will make, is I was all over the place. I talk about anything, anywhere, anytime, and I didn't have this laser-like focus. Now I say that's not a good fit for us. I don't need to do that. I could do it, and we can make money doing it, but I don't need to be doing it.
Do you think you have to have those steps in order to become laser focused? Just cast the net and see what happens?
I think what you find is what you enjoy. Like you may take your idea and say it'll be good for this. Like you try to sell to other trainers.
Yes.
And did that work?
Not a bit.
Okay. I tried to sell to coaches, athletic coaches, and it didn't work. But I tried it, and I had to try it to know. So my new guy last night at dinner was saying, hey, I think we could sell this to college coaches. I'm like, stop right there. No. You know how hard it is to sell these people? Well, they pay for it. They don't have budgets for it. They're hard-headed. They're stubborn. They're know-it-alls. Why won't we try to sell to them? Sounds like a good idea, but you had to do that to find out, right?
Yep.
All right, what about you? Where are you struggling with taking this concept? Because speaking, coaching, writing, and training is just all distribution channels for conviction. Where are you taking and having a struggle to get through from one step to another?
I think when you're talking about baking the cake and, making an amazing cake,
Mhm.
and we talked about this a little bit in our first meeting, you and I did, where I've got the master producer. I do well what I do.
Yep.
And if I can get in front of a customer, as long as, if I'm making a relationship with them, I can usually close the deal. That's not really my problem. My problem is there's so many things coming at me from so many different directions.
Yeah.
Trying to go back to the basics and get in front of that main customer
Sure.
over and over and over again, because right now Farm Credit is in the middle of restructuring everything we do. My leader has been promoted. I have a new leader. Not really sure that's an interim leader. Not really sure who my leader is going to be. My coworker went on maternity leave a few weeks ago. There's constantly things coming at me, and it's trying to manage all the chaos, and that's just mentioning a few pieces of the chaos, and also the competition out there is so much greater than it was just a year
That's
or
right.
two ago.
Yeah.
Because there's other banks coming into the market where I'm playing.
Yeah.
I have a niche market where I work in land and where I work in construction, and just for example, in Gatlinburg, I'm close to that Sevier County area. In Gatlinburg, well, half of Gatlinburg now, so now all the banks are rolling out construction promotions. Well, Farm Credit's based out of Louisville. We're a 4-state region. They're not rolling out a a special construction program. So there's all these things that are influencing kind of what I had going on, and I'm thinking, how do you stay motivated and still believe what you sell when everything around you is changing?
Yep.
And so I'm really struggling there.
Do you feel like your company is slow to respond to the change? Because I'm going to give you a company that was very slow to respond, State Farm.
Yeah.
State Farm did not change, although massive commoditization, new players in the space, drastic undercutting on pricing, and they waited way too long to respond to that competition.
Their Farm Credit is changing, but they're going for a different market than what I've been going after for the last 7 years.
Yeah.
They're going for the big agriculture. There's not a lot of big agriculture in East Tennessee. They're going for, they want the cream of the crop. They want all these things, and they want us to sell. We're supposed to be providing the customer with a relationship, and they're not supposed to be focused on pricing and all these things. And I get the big picture. I get what they're trying to do. But that's not really, I'm sorry?
So it's not really realistic.
It's not realistic in East Tennessee, no.
Yeah.
It's not. And so it's making it very hard to go out and communicate it to the core people that have been sending me business for the last 7 or 8 years and saying, hey, Farm Credit's doing a little bit of change. Give me about 18 months and I'll get back to you. And we should be able to provide you an upstanding company at that point. So it's really trying to find my confidence in the company. This is all being recorded too, and I'm not trying to put Farm Credit down by any means, but trying to find my confidence in the company I work for while they're going through changes.
That's right.
And while half, I shouldn't say half, about 1/4 of the company is retiring.
Yeah.
Has and will over the next
That's right.
15 months.
Well, we're seeing this, and it's called creative destruction, so you understand. And creative destruction is where people are out there looking at your business model, and they're sitting in a room trying to do it better, faster, and cheaper. And the big ones are trying to literally just put you out of business. Amazon is notorious for this.
I love Amazon's new thing they're doing.
Yeah, they're notorious. They'll find a business, and there's like, how can we put them out of business? Which is what they've done to printing. And the reason I tell you that is I used to have to buy these books 1,000 at a time, $10 a book, sit on all the inventory, sell it. Okay, this is an old model. Amazon comes along and said, if you go softback, we can print that book for $2.15 and you can buy one. You can just buy one copy for $2.15 and we'll ship it to you. What does that do to the printing companies? So printers call on me and they're like, man, you ain't even close here. I can have my books in less than 2 weeks. I can buy one copy or 1,000 copies. Your model is gone. They just crushed you. There's nothing you can tell me that'll get me to do business with you versus them. So what's happening is this creative destruction is happening. And it's really the value of an outsider sometimes seeing this. It wasn't a mortgage person or a bank person or a financial service person that called the housing crisis. It was an MD who studied the market. So outsiders see things that people inside can't see. You can't see the picture inside the frame. And what's happening is the market is one of the famous things about Uber is, you know, the CEO of Uber got into an argument with an Uber driver one night. He's riding in the back seat, and the driver's filming it, and he don't know it. But he founded Uber. They're one of the founders. There was two. And he's riding with two girls. I think they've been out having some booze. But he's riding in the back of this Uber car of a company he invented, and the driver doesn't say anything until he goes to get out. And after the two ladies get out, he's like, well, you know, why did you raise the prices? We're not making as much money. And he's kind of just giving it to this CEO. And the CEO gets frustrated. And he's like, man, there wouldn't even be a job for you if I wouldn't have created this company. I mean, you're sitting here arguing about this. Don't drive for Uber if you don't like it. You know what I'm saying? But he's trying to explain to this Uber driver that the reason I'm having to shift these prices is because Lyft is now in the equation. You understand what I'm saying? And not all Uber drivers are good, and we're competing versus private car services. You follow me? And he's trying to explain it to this everyday Uber driver who's sitting there just pouncing on him because he's not making as much money as he did when he first started driving Uber. You see what I'm saying? Well, that's what's happening at your company and other companies is competitors are coming in stealing market share. And people up here at the top are trying to make decisions to stay relevant. And if not, they're getting crushed. Okay? And so these things are happening so fast, right? Just look at Rutherford County, which was voted, one of the top 10 fastest growing cities in the United States. Not in Tennessee, in the country. Look at how many banks are opening up in Rutherford County. Every corner. There's one called New Vision, First Vision across the street, Volunteer. All these banks are flooding the market because it's a sign of economic growth. There's money here. Okay, but what does that do to Regions Bank that's sitting over there just kind of just moving along and not being aggressive and got a little market share? Well, next thing you know, that market share will be crushed by somebody who's hungrier. Okay? So,
That's kind of my, like, how do you stay motivated through all that?
well, I think we did a session this month in Monster Producer about never use the word overwhelm. Never say you're overwhelmed. Always say I'm never at capacity. I'm increasing capacity. I'm not overwhelmed. There's seasons, a moment of overwhelm during the day, but you can't let a moment turn into a day, turn into a week. So don't use the word overwhelm, right? And don't use the word busy. You're not busy, you're dynamic. If you see the shift in mindset, big time people don't say, well, I'm so busy, I'm so overwhelmed. I want to be so overwhelmed with opportunity and leads that we can't get to all of it, right? But that's a good overwhelm, right? There's demand. What does he say in that movie? One of the best lines of Founder, increase supply and demand will follow. He don't say flip it, right? He says you increase the supply of these McDonald's and the demand will come right along with it. Now that's a good way of looking at things.
That's the founder.
The Founder, the movie, yep. It's a must if you want to watch, all right? Where are you struggling with packaging your ideas and selling them?
I think the biggest problem for me is focus.
Okay?
I came from an industry originally that I could generate an idea in my head, get a visual picture of that idea, and do it without writing anything down. When I tried to put the idea on paper, it never made any sense to me. And I couldn't follow it if I was someone else, if I was making a blueprint out of what I was trying to say. I couldn't put it into the kind of words that I could understand it, nor anyone else do that. So I tried to do things in my head now, and I'm thinking, now I've got so doggone many ideas, I really can't hone in on what it is that I really want to do. What end of what I do I really want to tackle?
That's right.
I think of finances, the way people are conducting their finances are all wrong.
Yep.
Everybody, it's the status quo, everybody does it, so let's all jump on that train. Is that where I want to go? Do I want to go with opportunities or like gems laying all over the street?
Yep.
People are failing to see them, they're walking right over the top of them and missing it all. So I think focus is the...
Well, here's what I would ask you, and I think you got to try different things. Here's what I always come back to. Is there a demonstrated need for your ideas, right? So here it is. Here's my idea. Here's my point of view. That's what you're paying for. We have to package that in something that people could consume. Something I can feel, touch, taste, see. We had to have a distribution channel to push the idea to whom, right? Like, who are we selling it to? Like right now, I'm selling to big mortgage companies. So I was on the phone today with a $15 billion mortgage company because I've shown a demonstrated capacity to help other mortgage companies. Everybody with me? Well, I didn't originally target mortgage companies. I targeted saturated markets where there's too many people competing. Banks, mortgage companies, insurance agents, real estate companies, right? Like the big kahuna with his heating and cooling business may say, I want to target one demographic, right? I want to dominate, bam. Well, I kind of said I want to dominate the saturated market. I'm not interested in going after this group or this group. I could have picked churches, pastors, whatever, right? But I picked an area. So I had an idea, right? I'm selling a system. See, everything we're doing now is moving things to we're selling you a system. We're getting out of just selling you ideas and concepts. Like that's why we're repackaging our online academy to the Monster Growth online, the Monster Producer online growth academy, online system. Because it's a growth system. You're buying a system. Okay? You're not just buying a bunch of ideas. You're buying here to here to here to here to here. I'm selling you a system. So when I'm on the phone with people, I go, let me tell you what we go to work on. Explanation of services, selling system, follow-up, experience. Those are the 4 things we're going to coach your people on. Because they want to know, okay, I'm going to hire you. What's going to happen? We're going to go to work on 4 things. Build a world-class explanation of service. Build a selling system that drives more leads. Teach them how to follow up with the $1 million follow-up, right? And teach them how to extract 5.7 referrals out of every deal. So that guy goes, this is good. I'm not selling just Coach Burt and a bunch of energy, a bunch of motivation. I'm selling a system. And I say, hey, I've proven this system with 5 other mortgage companies. I got a demonstrated capacity to do this, right? Well, early on, I'm just trying to sell myself, right? I got a lot of energy. I'm a former coach. Got a championship ring. You know what I mean? I don't really have anything good to sell. Now I'm selling, hey, I'm selling you a package system that you could purchase. I got a very aggressive online academy that every person can be on. You're going to get me live once a month coaching these people to do this. Everybody follow me here? So first, I would tell you, I don't care what the idea is, but you got to pick a lane. And I'm not saying you can't go out there and compete versus Dave Ramsey and everybody else on money, right? But do you want to? I don't want to compete with Tony Robbins. What I want to do is pick a lane different than Tony. So this guy asked me, what makes you different than Rick Ruby and all this? I said, there's no other coach as granular as I am. I'm going to get in there and show your people how to do it. I'm talking block and tackle, baby. I ain't talking about up here 30,000 feet. I'm going to be in there coaching these people. No other coach is going to be as granular as me. They're up there in the clouds teaching concepts, and I'm in there every day doing it. So idea, pick a lane. That's your point of view. How are you going to package it? I.e., how can I purchase it? How do I buy from you? Okay? How do you distribute? How do they know about you? I've showed you how to do that. Social media, events, database, current customer base. Who's our target market for this idea? And have you shown a demonstrated capacity that I would even put some money into you? Right? Like, tell me who you done it for. Who have you done this for? Okay? Big Kahuna, what about you?
Probably content's where I'm struggling.
Okay. Have you landed on this, though?
I mean, yeah, we have, but, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get that out of the way. I guess the biggest thing I'm struggling with, is content.
All right, so let's talk about that. Let's say that you got to go back once every other month, coach somebody in your system. Where do you get the content from? Let's say I'm paying you 6 figures to coach my people. I'm going to pull them out of production. So while they're with you, we're not making any money, which is a big deal. And I'm going to give you the keys and access to my people for 2 hours a month. What are you going to teach them? and I'm willing to do a 3-year deal with you because I believe in process. But I can't hear you say the same thing every month over and over and over. You can't be a speaker that's got one message and looking for a different audience. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about, because this attacks this issue. So where do I get the content from?
Life experience.
Okay.
Different things, kind of like, well, last month you spoke on, you had an opportunity to go and do the New York.
Yep.
I can't think exactly.
Yep.
It's not, but anyway, you were on TV.
Yep.
So you used that to
That's right.
teach us.
That's right.
Life experiences. You used different things that came along.
So this is big because a lot of people don't have any content.
Yeah.
They don't have enough content. Okay? So I extract so typically I pick one area and I dig in as deep as I can. What's a common denominator between Kalanick at Uber, Bezos at Amazon, the guys who founded Airbnb that are all valued at $30 billion and above? What's the common denominator between those 3 people? And so I go study them. I watch all their videos, read books about them. Then I say, these 3 guys have one thing in common. They are totally obsessed with the customer. Next month, that's what I'm going to be talking about, customer obsession. And how does customer obsession drive to more money, right? And I listen, and I cite examples. So the guy at Airbnb, here's his philosophy. Don't ask how can we be better for our customers. Ask how can we make it so good that they'll run and go tell other people. See the difference in those 2 questions? So I could do a whole session on that one question. And then when you have a deep well of content, then I go, well, what are people doing right now? Well, they're doing customer surveys. They're doing Net Promoter Score. Here's the problem. I can lie on a survey, number 1. And I could give you all 5s on a 5-star survey and never go have one conversation with you, with another person about you. So how good was the survey? Right? So all these people say, oh, we got 5 stars, we got 5 stars, we got 5 stars, we got 5 stars. I don't care if I get 21 5-star reviews on Amazon for my book. That ain't what I want. I want those people who read it to go tell somebody else to read it. You follow me here? So I could do a whole session on how do we fall in love with our customers' results versus our own results. How do we tie customer obsession to money? You follow me? How do we show a person at Farm Credit that's on the operation side that his or her role is directly tied to how much money we can make if they become obsessed with the customer? See what I'm saying? So this is where all my content's coming from. I'm constantly looking, and I'm not stealing their content. I'm not up there. I'm just researching and dissecting and synthesizing and sharing, right? And I give it a theme, customer obsession. And I teach it to my team. And I may take that one talk and give it to every company I'm working with. Like I do it Tuesday, 4 different groups. Then Thursday, I do it with 4 different groups. You see what I'm saying here? And they go, man, I hadn't heard you talk about customer obsession. That's right. You ain't heard me talk about it yet. It's something totally new. So my point to you is, it doesn't have to be boring, is a point of view theme, right? You're getting a lot of attention, a lot more attention than most heating and cooling people, right? That part's working. If I want to go sell that to another company like Farm Credit, for them to pull their people out of work for 2 hours a month, for you to coach them, you got to say, here's the 12 steps I'm going to take you through, right? Step 1 this, step 2 this, step 3 this. I'm going to sell you a system on how to take a mortgage or a loan for land and make it sexy. Yes?
I had a service business back in Nevada. What you did was just put a name on something that I did that I was totally unaware of. I answered every telephone call that came through when my customers never thought that I was out to get in their book, in their pockets. The rich that I had told all of their rich friends about me.
That's right.
About the service.
That's right.
That I came when I said I would show up, and I answered the phone call, and if they had a problem with something I did, I came out and addressed it.
Yep.
And I was just upset. I never looked at the bank account. My wife was always going crazy over the bank account.
Yep. Because when you become, listen, the people that are making the most money are totally obsessed with the customer experience. Right? There will come a day you order something on Amazon and an hour later a drone drops it off on your doorstep. An hour later.
Not if I'm flying it.
Right? But that's how obsessed Bezos is. And he is ruthless. There's probably no CEO as ruthless as Bezos. He is so focused on the customer. What do the customer want? They want to order groceries right now and have it at their house in an hour. They don't want to go to the grocery store. The reason he says the everything store is because he wants you to buy everything there. Everything. You with me? And every day he wakes up on how I can do it. And how convenient is it?
Oh, I love it.
So here's my point though. That's why he's worth, you know, X number of billion, $34 billion. Because he starts with that one concept. How do I get my customer to they're not just happy that they're totally dependent on us? Okay, so the guy with Uber says, how do we just completely put the taxi cab service out of business? If we just provide a better experience and a nicer car at a reasonable price, we can put them out of business. So these people wake up and think like that, right? And very few people think like that, by the way. They see the consumer as kind of a nuisance. Follow me? They don't want any feedback from the consumer. So the Uber, the Airbnb guys, like, hey, listen to the customers and then react to it. They tell us we need a profile on people, we'll create a profile. Tell us we need this, we'll do it. They don't get judged. They don't get defensive. They listen and they respond. All right, here's what I want to do. I want to stop right here for just a second, and I want to put you in a group with each other, and I want you to talk through. Here's what I want you to talk through. This piece right here. Here's my concept. Here's how I plan on packaging it. Here's how I'm going to distribute it. Here's whom I'm trying to sell it to. You follow me here? And here's my capacity in this area. Because I think part of this is you need to start verbalizing this. You know, this guy got on my team now. One of the cool things is 15 years ago, when I was a high school coach, he and I used to have long conversations about one day building a company where I would take these same principles I was using in coaching and I'd coach businesses with them. 15 years ago. We were already talking about it.
You didn't have an idea then, did you, that it was going to happen?
No, I just thought it would be cool to take the same things I was using to build this to corporate we were just having all these conversations about it. So he went his way. I didn't talk to him for almost 5 or 10 years. Then he come back to work for me. You see what I'm saying? And he goes, man, I remember you and I used to go to somewhere crappy like Western Sizzling or something. And we just sit there and talk for hours about, man, how it would be cool to, you know what I mean? To take this and do it. And now it's manifesting. You go there in the mind first before you go there in the body. You with me? So I want you to verbalize this a little bit and give each other some feedback. You know? And listen, we don't know. The biggest thing I want you to walk out here doing is listen, it ain't going to happen until you go do it. I can't sit there and tell if it's going to work or not. But it definitely ain't going to happen if you just sit and listen to Coach Burt every month and don't do anything with it. Your first book is going to be a crappy book. Okay? It is. My first book was crappy compared to the books I write today. Everybody with me? John Maxwell's first book was crappy. Most people's first book. Go back and study Robert Kiyosaki. His first book was not Rich Dad, Poor Dad. His first book was written 7 years before or 5 years before Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it was if you want to be rich, don't go to college or something like that. I mean, his first book never made it anywhere. It was only after he built and sold a company and he set up in the mountains of Arizona in a cabin by himself for a year away from his wife. His wife lived at their house and he lived at the cabin up in the mountains of Arizona. And he was just sitting there playing around with this concept of rich dad, poor dad. We still don't even know if it's true. There's evidence. Some people say there is no rich dad. They can't find him. Like people have gone back to Hawaii to try to see if like there was a real person. And even in some interviews, he's even said, well, so-and-so made up this. Why can't I make up this? So so sometimes you hear him talk about it and he's like, I did have a rich dad. Sometimes it's like, well, did I really have a rich dad or did I just make it up? You see what I'm saying? But he created Rich Dad, Poor Dad that he is still talking about today, 20 years later. Go watch one of his speeches today. He's talking about the exact same thing he was in 1997. And they probably pay him $100,000 to come in and talk about it. So for you, my point to you is you got to get past this thing. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be great. It's got to be a bestseller. You got to I got a freaking idea, and I'm going to package up and sell it. And first it's going to be crappy. But if I can just get one person to buy it. Everybody with me? All right, so take a few minutes. And that's right. That was my mama who did that. So you three guys can do yours together and you two guys, okay?
Very cool. All right. Come on.
Don't be shy. No ideas are stupid, right, Jack?
What you got? Dan said it's not. I know. I've got all the tech in the world too.
Mine's
What you
just
got?
different. I would just, because I'm not right.
Yeah, it's just a payout to them,
Okay,
and then Bill gets a percentage.
okay, so you want me to, are you sending her an email to let her know what percent?
Probably
of
need to be
non-
called. I need to call her.
Okay, and then I can go ahead and, I can send this, it's just one.
Yeah, you can go ahead and send it.
Okay.
For you to book her. Well, I'm hitting Lane Gerhart, and I was like, you and Greg get together and let's put on a good event. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll go ahead and send this now.
We have a date for Birmingham. That looks like the only thing available, man, is like the 27th of next month, for this month. Or have you had a chance to look at it?
I had, but let me pull up here. Bill? Do we want to look at that? I mean, the 27th is an available date. Well, one of the things I'm coaching Eric on, and you need to make sure you read it, is
that's what's really, that was the key. Yeah, once you do, you really do that.
Yeah, for somebody that does that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, let's do some Q. Let's do some. Let's do some Q&A.
You got some competition here, Coach.
Cooperation,
Look at that.
never competition. Cooperation. So let's do some Q&A on this, okay? So, what's your question that you want to know about how to package up and sell something? What's the question you want to know about how to? Because I remember when I was first trying to speak and coach and train and lead, I would just sit with people who were doing it and just say, like, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you sell it? How do you package it? Where do you go? What do you do? And they would just go, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. What's your question about how to package and sell it?
How do you develop a team to help you do the pieces that you would spend way too much time doing, but they're really good at doing that one thing, and they need to do it, so I don't do it.
Okay, so what you're going to need for sure is a very good graphic designer. Okay, you're going to need a relationship with, I won't say a marketing firm because I think it's very expensive, but you first need someone to package it up as a great designer. All right, you're going to need somebody that I think you can control to be your web designer. Okay, early on, I used things like Eventbrite, where I'd create an event, have people pay on Eventbrite. Okay, but you need, if you notice how much stuff I push out that's packaged up with graphics, professional graphics, I pay $80 a graphic for those. So I spend $800 a month in just graphics. But it's part of my brand. It's part of my packaging. Let you know I'm not a bozo. I didn't try to go in there and do it myself. You with me here? So when you say what kind of team, what's the product we're selling?
More than just developing the product. Let's say the product is there. Where is the person that can make it move to wider audiences?
Okay.
Otherwise, you
Okay.
start ground up.
Great question. So what I do is I want you to think about this. Think of everything like this. We got to sell it and we got to service it. Okay? So if you look at my team, I went out and got a very experienced salesperson. 54 years old, very motivated, comes with batteries included, wants to put deals together. And I said, here's our product. Here's how much money you could make. Go sell it. Then I've got an operations person who is over here that is in charge of servicing what we sold. Okay? Then I've got all these other little key people around me. I got a videographer who's back there editing content right now, and I'm pumping out 5 times the amount of videos that most people are, because we're going to package this up and we'll pump it out to the market. Does that make sense? Okay? So I go speak 3 times in a day, and we package it up. I'm doing documentaries. I'm doing quick hit videos. And as fast as I'm packaging up, within that day, typically that day, we got that content out. So that's building our subscriber base, right? So I got videographer, salesperson, operations person. Now I got another person that does nothing but work relationships, right? Get the opportunity I can't get to. I got a driver that's on my payroll that drives me from place to place so I can work. You follow me? So these are key people, in my opinion. Now, so now what we're doing now is he's going to getting 5 more salespeople.
Okay.
And what we're saying to those people is as you sign people up, you're going to get a percentage of the deal. But the first month you sign them up, you get all the money they pay. So you can get a quick hit, like a little cocaine hit. You get a quick hit fast, right? You get the first month of what they pay. Then you get 10% drip on everything for the rest of it. Now, what I'm finding by doing that, Michael, is I got all kinds of people wanting to come work with me. I mean, every day they're selling insurance, and that's enough that I can show. So I say, you go get me 4 monsters, right? Number 1 up front, you get $1,200 up front, right? Plus you get a drip for all 12 months that they pay, 10%, right?
Yeah.
And so these insurance guys are like, man, so we got a guy in Alabama who's in Monster Producer, Richard Neese. who's already went out and sold his first monster producer. They're signing him up right now. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these other people. We're not paying them a salary, so I'm not convincing them to leave what they're doing yet. I'm just saying, here's what you could make. And I want them to get up where they're making $2,000 or $3,000 a month, and they go, I'll leave this and go work for Coach Burt full time. So that's how we're doing it right now. So for you, you need one person. And maybe up front you got to give them a little extra. You may say, I'll give you a higher commission or first month to you, but I need you to take this and do nothing but sell it, sell it, sell it. But also I think you have to increase your social media presence and your database presence, because then you're going to be attracting people to you. So I'm doing all kinds of affiliate deals as well right now, where I'm going to, like I just agreed to do a deal with Cardone, where Monster Producer, 1 year of Monster Producer is in his platform. So he's selling to 5 million people. You're going to go in there and get Monster Producer online, but I'm going to pop up repeatedly in there and say, hey, if you really like this, I got a full year coaching program. Go here. And we're trying to pull those leads in. And I'm doing a deal with multi-level marketing people where they got a rabid base of followers, and I go in here and do a podcast with them, and we make an offer, and he gets 50% and I get 50%. But he's pushing it to 5,000 or 6,000 people that are rabid. So when he tells them to do it, they do it. So what if we pick up another, let's just say 50 monsters at $400 a month? You see what I'm saying? So now I'm getting into big affiliate partnerships where they're pushing me, I'm pushing them, and there's a percentage back to them. This is where a lot of money is being made. Okay? So these are all the things we're doing right now to package and sell it. So to me, I didn't get that salesperson up front.
Yeah,
It was me selling
I
it.
know, and that probably ran you ragged.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Now I only get involved to try to close the deal or do big deals, which you don't know how freeing that is.
I like to learn from other people.
Yeah, that's right. And if I could just coach all day long and promote and not have to do sell, it'd be awesome.
Yep.
So to do that, you got to get a great salesperson. Now, I've hired kind of lower skill level people before, and it didn't work because they got to be babysat. So I said, I'll let you babysit them because he'll get an override on all those people. So he's managing them, but he gets an override on every sale they make. So that's how we're building it out. Okay? All right, so that's a good question. All right, what's the other questions about packaging and selling it?
That's what I do. I'm doing that. I don't know that I could say that.
What is packaging internally within a company?
When you're presenting to
There you
your
go.
influencers or customers.
That's right.
And that's what I was describing to them, what I plan to do in the morning. I'm going to the beach. On the way to the beach, I'm stopping and meeting with Blue Ridge Log Homes, which is a
There you go.
log company. It's actually manufactured,
Yeah.
modular home company. And so I'm stopping in there and taking them some breakfast and some goodie bags.
There you go.
They've got like Legos, but the log home Legos, and I've got little packages for them, and it says, let's build a relationship, let's build a log home together.
Okay.
Little,
All right, let me ask you this. I like that. I'm going to pretend I work at Log Home.
okay,
You know what I'm going to be trying to see?
what?
How many times are you going to come back at me?
Um,
How many times are you going to come back and hit me?
I come through, well, it's about it's 230 miles, I've already checked it. It's 230 miles from my house, so and they know I go to the beach 4 or 5 times a year. I usually stop through at least once or twice a summer.
Is it working?
Yeah, I'll get 2 or 3 deals a year out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, they call me, and a lot of times they'll call and they'll say, we're building a house in Kentucky, can you get me in touch with someone? So they probably call me 2 or 3 times trying to get a reference to someone at Farm Credit.
Yeah.
Or they call me with the deal that I can do this local.
So I would just tell you this, because a lot of people send me a lot of stuff all the time. You know, and I look for how many times are you going to come back at me?
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
so be
Persistent.
persistent.
And I would ask this question, not how I get 2 or 3 deals a year, how do I get 23 deals a year?
Well, and the thing is they cover a huge territory, and they know that I'm working
There you
in
go.
Tennessee. So,
So this is a question, though, I want you to start thinking about.
how do
See,
get
I was trying to figure out how do I get myself from 1.4 million to 2.4 million.
Yeah.
And one of my friends said, man, it's the wrong question. You need to be asking how to go from 1.4 to 10.4. You with me? That's But that's right. That's the way our mind needs to be thinking. You follow me here? It doesn't need to be how do we get 2 more deals a year. It needs to be how do we get 20 more deals a year. And that's that. And so typically, like every night I write down, you know, here's what one of my affirmations. I own a $10.4 million company that kicks off $3 million in cash to me. Make sense? I write it out every night. And every move I make is blue marlin versus blue gill. You with me? Blue marlin versus blue gill. Not how to get one more. See, Peter Thiel wrote a great book called 0 to 1. And here's the concept. Most people go from 1 plus. So they take somebody else's idea and make it a little bit better and sell it. His point was the people that really make the big cheese have monopolies. They go from nothing to create something. And he uses Google, Amazon. Although they did make other things better, they made it so significantly better that they own monopolies. And his point was you have to have monopolistic thinking because there's so much saturation in the market. Competition really pulls out all your profits because you got to keep getting more narrow on your margins. So the monopolies are the ones that make billions and billions and billions of dollars, like Amazon, right? That's his point. And so my question would be, how does Coach Burt own a monopoly in Rutherford County, which we really do, in the coaching space in this town, right? Because although it's hard for me to sell sometimes in Murfreesboro, we still have 150 people. Most of them in Murfreesboro paying $5,000 a year to be coached by me. That's a lot of people. You with me? But there could be 1,500. So you see, like I could see you doing affiliate deals, even with your Big Kahuna concept where you're doing affiliate deals with builders and, you know what I'm saying? You know, you said your most money is made in replacements? Okay, so the question is, what kind of deals can you partner with people on to where you're right there, I call it a feeder system. And these partners are feeding you money, feeding you deals, feeding you, right? Okay, what else on the packaging piece? Because if I really had to tell you the biggest thing after all the things we talked about, the biggest struggle is how do you take your ideas and package them up and sell them? And packaging is anything you can smell, touch, taste, see. This is packaging. Me creating a planner is packaging. I just had to find a graphic designer. I had it in my mind, right? Well, if I can print it at 7 or 8, sell it for 35, it ain't a big margin, but what's the value of having 150 people in your market running around with one of these and taking lunch and going to Starbucks and having it right there and people going, what's that, man? Coach Burt's got his own planners. You see what I'm saying? So there's value. There's a value in packaging. Look at all these country music singers that open up their own places in Nashville. Alan Jackson's got his own place. Dierks Bentley's opening up his own place. Florida Georgia Line just opened up their own place. You see what I'm saying? Why do they need a bar and restaurant? Well, it makes them more of a household name. You know, makes it sticky. Makes it, they got their own, like when I go to Chicago, eat Michael Jordan Steakhouse. You know what I mean? And it's just an average steak, but you're at Michael Jordan's. You know what I'm saying? So for you, you got to start thinking about brand. That's why you see Cardone now doing socks and hats and hoodies, and it's part of his brand. I don't know how much money he makes off merchandise. I'm sure he's making some, but it's really just part of his stick to make it stickier. Well, I'm wearing a 10X hat, and I'm reading a 10X book, and I'm following you, and now I'm part of the family. Okay? All right?
Become the go-to guy in that,
You just dominate.
in that niche, yeah.
You just dominate that space.
Yeah.
Okay? You just dominate that space. So I want to kind of close this out by saying, look, here's how you got to start thinking. The only thing, I never want something else to stand between me and my destiny. I never want another person to stand between me and my destiny. I never want, you see what I'm saying? Well, what's standing between a lot of people and their destiny is taking what's in their brain and actually putting it in something that they can sell out there to the world. And the only thing really stopping them is them, right? Like the blue-collar coach could be a huge concept. All you really need is one client to pay you for you to have enough confidence to go do it. Just go get one. You know what I'm saying? But when you, let's say you show up at Roscoe Brown and they say, okay, Jason, I like you, you got good juice, I know you're a blue-collar guy. If I turn you loose with my people and you're asking me for $1,000, what are you going to teach them? So if you don't, you got to, it can't just be in your brain.
Right.
It's got to be, here's my marketing collateral, here's my book. Here's, you see what I'm saying? That's the packaging that's missing. So on this Good Day New York, to your point, they didn't initially think I was big enough to be on that show. It was only after they looked at all of my intellectual property did they decide I was big enough. They didn't know who I was. So the producer came down and talked to me for like 45 minutes. And he's like, man, we didn't know you. You're not a national name yet. He said, but when I went to your website and I watched your YouTube videos and I saw hundreds, and I saw you had 12 books, and I saw you had a new bestseller, and I listened to your podcast, and this was his words, he's like, damn, you're good. And he said, but I didn't know it. You follow me? So what if I didn't have all that stuff? I would have never been on Good Day New York. What if he went there and had a little crappy website, and I didn't have a one sheet, and I didn't have a speaking video, and I didn't have a podcast? You follow me? So I was on WLAC radio station. I did 300 shows on WLAC. 300. I paid $15,000 a year to be on WLAC, not because people were listening to me, because they weren't. It was because I was on the Fox News affiliate in Nashville. LAC is a Fox News channel, and I could get almost any guest in America on that show. So I had Marcus Lemonis. It's where I met Grant Cardone. It's where I had Nito Cobain. You name any, Robert Irvine of Food Network, you name them. I could say, I got a talk show on the Fox News Network, Fox News affiliate in Nashville, Tennessee. Would you like to be on my show? And their publishers come back and say, yes, they would. Now, what's the value of spending time with those people? Building relationship with those people. Building partnership with those people. See? See, so people's like, man, I'm not going to be on a little crappy station like that. Spend $15,000. I pay $15,000 for access. And that was worth every dollar of it. So your thinking is too small. Sometimes that's a great mechanism. But the show, now I had collateral, because when I did those shows, we tape them, we record them, we put them on YouTube. Now I got valuable stuff to send out to the market. You follow me here? So that was the purpose of doing a show. Now, I'm not going to be on a local show here in Murfreesboro because the demographics don't make sense. You know, the only people that are listening to the show, right, are older. They're not people I would sell to. And I'm not going to spend money to be on there when I can have my own studio right here and do my own thing and control it. Okay? And the reason Cardone created his own network is because he could not get a show. He could not get his own show on national television. He was on National Geographic or History Channel or something. On his first, he did 4 episodes and they pulled him off because it's the wrong network. He had a turnaround king show on a National Geographic network. So his viewership was not right. So he got so frustrated with trying to pitch shows to networks and they wouldn't take it. He said, I'm just going to build my own network. I'm going to have my own studio. I'm going to create my own shows. Then they can't tell me no. You follow me here? So I want that kind of control. I want to be able to say, I got a message and I'm going to go in that studio and pump that puppy out. And I want that control back. Okay? So just remember that. Okay? Any other questions today? Do you feel like you're making progress?
Yeah.
Like, are you getting clarity? Are you getting clarity?
I'm just in a weird spot right now.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah.
You know what? I think a lot of people in your company are in a weird spot. It ain't just you. I got little birdies on the ground. Tell me things. And they're all over the place. But I'm going to tell you something. To never forget this. Kahuna, you're going to like this one. Buffett always said, where there's fear, there's always opportunity. He's made a fortune. Where there's fear, there's always opportunity. Okay? So never forget that. So don't be afraid of that. We capitalize on missing structures. I'm selling to companies that want something. More structure, more control, right? More motivation. Well, without that anxiety, they wouldn't need a coach. Right? Like I would go to your company right now and say, there's nobody better in the world at building culture than me. I could help you. Now, you may not see that I could help you, and you may not want to spend the money for me to come in, but I could help you. You see? There's a real estate agent in Nashville, big one, that's been losing a lot of her agents because a new real estate company came into the market called EXP, which gives you shares and options, stock options. And a lot of these agents have been bolting these big agencies and going to this new one. And they were telling me this on my bus the other day. And I went straight to my phone and sent that broker a message. I know you're scared right now because all your big players are leaving. Okay? I can help you. I can help you keep these people. Now, she may not ever do anything with it, but where there's fear, there's opportunity. You follow me? And she'll come around. She loses enough agents. She'll say, I got to do something to keep people, right? Or just fall on the sword and be prideful, which gets a lot of people. So hopefully these sessions are pushing you to think and dig deeper, and hopefully giving you the guts to go do it. Okay? The people who communicate the best make a lot of money, guys. Okay? Don't forget that. Steve Jobs was still selling. He was still the #1 salesperson at Apple. Don't ever forget that. He just did it through great presentations. You follow me? He wasn't out there selling one phone at a time. He was selling 1 million phones at a time. So the better communicator you become, the more your world's going to expand. Okay? Okay, thanks guys. Have a great day. And we're going to be releasing dates. I just talked to Keisha about this. Okay, and we may open it up to our customers, like our monster producers, because there's a lot of people that really need to work on these things. Okay, all right.